Welcome to the Dice Tower, a podcast all about board and card games and the people who play them. This episode, number 20, is part of our classic series and was originally aired on October 12, 2005. This episode of the Dice Tower is sponsored by Your Move Games, makers of Battleground, Fantasy Warfare, the miniature war game without miniatures. To learn more about Your Move Games or to take a flash demo of Battleground, please visit www.yourmovegames.com. And now, here's your host, Tom Vassell.
Hi, this is Tom Vassell. Welcome to the Dice Tower. Glad to have you on board. You know, I don't think anyone's ever accused the Dice Tower of being professional. And, you know, we're certainly a lot different than we were when we started. But, you know, there's still so many things that we don't have. We don't have a sound studio. Right now, as I'm recording, the crickets in the background are coming through on the microphone, and there's nothing I can do to stop it right now. But, you know, there's little things that we can change. And I think one of the things a big one is this episode, in episode 20. In fact, episode 20 is one of my favorite episodes. It was so fun. It was so interesting to do that I actually think it's one of the classic episodes of the Dice Tower. Because in this episode, what I did beforehand was I really tried to do something special for number 20. And so I hunted down voice work. I looked on the internet, found somebody who would do it for cheap, and even though they didn't do exactly what I wanted, I saw their advertisement, and for $50 a month, they would record a new intro for your show. And I thought, wow, every time I could have new intro, a specific intro for that show, and wouldn't that be cool? Now, thanks to Eric Summer, you know, he's just been so helpful. I have that, but back then, I was just excited to get any intro. So I got a guy, and he did an intro and outro, the top 10, and a few other inserts that went throughout the show. And I was really pleased about this. I thought, here we go. We're up to the next level. And, you know, it really was nice. It's really nice to have that whole intro. And so if you listen, this is our first music that we had for our show. That was our official theme music, per se, but it was just some more generic music. And because, it was interesting, me going back and forth with the guy, he sent me one. I said, I don't really like that music. And so he probably sent me 10 pieces of music before I was satisfied. And even then, we changed the music later on, and again, and again, and again, and again. And here we are about to do episode 128 next week, and we're in 128, we're going to debut actual music that was written for the Dice Tower that is our own specific music. But I digress. I had this guy, I didn't tell Joe about it, and so I wanted it to be a surprise when he heard them on the show, and he was pretty pleased with the intro and outro. But the top 10 was where it got funny, because it was just so over the top. It was really cheesy, and it just made Joe laugh consistently. He would say he wasn't going to laugh, and then he'd laugh. I mean, you'll hear it in the show. It's just, to me, it was funny even when we were doing it. And even though that top 10 announcement was cheesy, and we've replaced everything else from the announcer over the years. We've replaced everything else. We managed to keep coming back to that top 10. It's still the one that I use today. I've had other people do it, Eric and Mike and just kids, and we keep coming back. It's the Dice Tower. It's part of who we are now. Well, enough of me blathering. Let's get on to the show.
Dice Tower episode number 20.
Welcome to the Dice Tower, a podcast about card games, war games, Euro games, miniatures, but most of all, board games. Your hosts are Tom Vassell, Internet Reviewer Extraordinaire, and Joe Stedman, vocal war game enthusiast. More about the Dice Tower can be found on the web at www.thedicetower.com. And now, here's your hosts, Tom and Joe.
All right.
Wow,
this is Tom Vassell.
That was cool. I'm Joe. Here's Joe. I'm Joe.
All right, and this is our 20th episode, and we're really glad you're with us today.
Yes, we are.
We'd like to thank GameFest.com, www.gamefest.com, because they're the ones who are hosting our podcast currently. They are an internet board game store, and you can find pretty much any board game you want there.
Well, any newer board game.
That's true. There's a lot that they don't have, but
they do new games.
They do have good prices on new games. And if you want to check out our own site, as you heard before, it's at thedicetower.com, and you can read a transcript of our show there and hear about our top 10 list. Although, I guess top 10 is kind of a misnomer today, since it's our bottom 10.
Our bottom 10, yeah.
So we have a contest that we're finishing up today for 2 copies available. We're going to talk about that later, right before our top 10. And we'll be introducing a new contest for, I think, a war game.
Yes, sir, Bob.
Oh, well, if you don't like war games, you can still win it for trading fodder.
You're right, trading fodder. I think you might just want to try it out and see what happens.
Okay. Well, we have 2 reviews for you today. Do you want to go first?
I can go first, no problem.
All right, go ahead, Joe. The review for episode 20.
All right. Well, the name of the game that I'm reviewing is called Pizza Box Football. Now, Tom's actually written a review about this game on the internet, but I don't think we've done it here on the show that much. We've talked about it just a little bit. Pizza Box Football came out in 2005 by Scott Smith and Eric Smith. I guess they're brothers. Isn't that right, Tom?
As far as I know.
Yeah, and it's the name of the publisher is On the Line Game Company. I'm pretty sure they're an independent company. This is their first game. Pizza Box Football it's a really cool game. I just really, really like it. Tom had it before me. It's just a good game. It's a game that simulates American-style football. So when I say football, all you foreigners, I'm not talking about soccer.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It's soccer, football, soccer, whatever. I'm talking about American-style football. All right? That's the good old black and blue. Anyway, Pizza Box Football really reminds me of football. I played football through high school and college, and it reminds me of it. It's a very, very simple game. It's called Pizza Box Football because the game itself comes in a pizza box. It's not truly a pizza box because there's no greasy stain in the bottom of the board or nothing, but and the box is a little bit thicker maybe than your typical pizza. Maybe it's like a Chicago style pizza or something, but pizzas I'm used to aren't quite this thick. But the game itself, the way it works is the defensive player will choose one of 3 things. He thinks you're going to run it, he thinks you're going to pass it, or a long pass. So it's pass, short pass, or long pass. And he will choose an appropriate die color to roll in secret. And then he will reveal that die color, then the offensive player will reveal what he's going to do. The defensive player reveals what he chose, and then you roll the die. After they roll the die, then the offensive player, that'll show kind of the general effects of what happened. And then you roll again as the offensive player to find out the specific effects as far as how far the ball goes, if you fumble it or whatever. And there's plenty of interesting, or not interesting, but handy to use charts. They're laminated charts. And then according to the outcome of the plays, you move little pegs across the board. It's kind of like light bright, I guess is the best way to explain it. Little light bright pegs across the board, and there's a way to keep time on the board. When I played with my friends, I just use the regular clock. I don't use the in-game clock. You can use that, I guess. And it also comes with some optional rules that really add a lot more strategy to the game, a lot more options, and there's some variants already on the internet for it. It's a pretty affordable game. It's brand new right now. You can find information. I think the publisher has a website. Do you know that website?
I believe it's pizzaboxfootball.com.
Yeah, pizzaboxfootball.com. Pretty complicated there. They're even coming out with an expansion that's going to cover some of the teams, so you can pick specific teams. Anything you'd like to add to that, Tom? I mean, you know a lot about this game too.
Each team is going to come with its own card, and they have different strengths and weaknesses, and it doesn't really change the game much. Instead of using the basic chart that comes with the game, you use the chart for that team.
Right. There's a generic chart that'll say if you roll this die number, this will happen. But if you get your specific team, then it'll change it slightly according to the traditionally how that team does things. Other than that, it just reminds me really of, one of my biggest criticisms of computer football is that the end of score is always like 97-72 or some unrealistic score because it's so easy to score touchdowns in real life. I mean, not in real life. It's so easy to score touchdowns on the computer when you play the PlayStation or the PC or whatever. But in this, the scores are real football scores. I played with my friend Sam, and at halftime it was 7-0.
Every game I played has been very realistic. Have you played the game with your wife yet?
I haven't got her to play it with me yet. I'm still trying to get her into war games. This is like a sports game, so I guess maybe I can talk her into this.
Yeah, you might be able to get her into sports first.
But I like the game, and I highly recommend it. It's not that expensive. If you like American football, and it's a good 2-player game that I think that you would enjoy. So look it up.
I agree with Joe. It's a good game. I think you should get it. My game is David and Goliath. David and Goliath is a trick-taking game, and this is one of the few games that Joe got before I did. And I played it, and I really enjoyed it. It's currently being produced by Playroom Entertainment, designed by Reinhard Staup, and is certainly one of my favorite trick-taking games just because of the simplicity. On your turn, you play a card, everyone has to follow suit like a normal trick-taking game, but whoever plays the highest number gets, well, actually, whoever plays the lowest number gets the single highest card. They get killing Goliath. And then whoever plays the highest card gets all the rest of the cards. And whether you want the cards is up to you, because for the first 2 cards that you get of each color, there's 5 colors. For the first 2 cards you get of each color, you get the point total of that color. So if I get a 6 and a 7, they're worth 13 points. But once you get the third card, then they all transform to being worth only 1 point each. So if I have 2 blue cards with a value of 6 and 7, they're worth 13 points. I get another blue card, all 3 of them are worth 3 points. And so in the beginning, the object is to take a few cards, and then during the rest of the game, your object is to take no cards at all. You want to try and play cards that don't get you anything. And so for that fact alone, it really works well. It works incredibly well with people who've never played games before. They pick up on it really easily. I believe Joe taught it to his extended family.
Yeah, my father-in-law really loves this game.
And everyone I've taught it to has just really played it easily.
In fact, I had to give my copy to him when I left the States. When I came back to Korea when I was home in the summer.
So you no longer have it?
No, I picked up a new copy at Origins.
It's a good game.
I didn't tell him that. I gave him the old copy.
I recommend it. It works pretty well with 3 players, but it works even better with 4 or 5. I think.
We really enjoy this game too. Wow, is this the first where we both liked each other's games?
We both like each other's games. So I guess we recommend that you get both of these, Pizza Box Football and David and Goliath.
And really, both of these games are in production right now.
That's true.
Wow.
So go out and buy them right now.
Don't wait.
www.thedicetower.com with Tom Vassell and Joe Stedman.
What was that?
I think I had the sound turned down. Here's the first part in case you missed it.
You're listening to The Dice Tower at www.thedicetower.com with Tom Vassell and Joe Stedman.
All right, there.
Why is your name first? I mean, come on. You could at least give me the billing.
We're doing reverse alphabetical order.
Oh, right.
Besides, Tom and Joe sounds better than Joe and Tom.
I don't know. Tom and Jerry. I get Tom and Jerry, but Joe and Tom just sound so much more manly.
You put the emphasis on the second name. Tom and Joe. Have a cup of Joe.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Well, we got a few questions today, and since we didn't have as many questions as normal, I pulled off some random. Well, I guess it's random. I actually picked them questions from Board Game Geek, which were actually pretty interesting questions. But we'll do the ones from you first.
Alrighty.
And don't forget, if you ever have questions for us, email us at thedicetower@gmail.com, and we'll try and answer them. Joe puts up answers in his blog.
Sure.
And you can read them there, especially for wargaming, because he can usually give you links.
Right. And matter of fact, the first question is specifically, I have on my blog already, but the first question was from a guy named Anson Lee. Or Lai. How do you think you pronounce that name?
Probably
Lee. Anyway, he was asking about ASL Starter Kit #1, and he was having a real hard time trying to learn it, and he was basically chewing me out because I recommended it. Now he's saying he can't, he's having a hard time, and he wanted to know if there's any place besides Vassal, which is a virtual ASL, not Tom Vassal, but virtual ASL, a place where he could go besides there to learn a game. And on my blog, which is at my blog is it's HTTP _, whatever that.
www.
It's not www though.
Oh, just go to blogspot.com and go to Joe Stedman.
Or just go to thedicetower.com and click on the word Joe Stedman. There you go. Anyway, it'll take you to my blog. And there is actually a really good site out there. It's, I don't even know how you pronounce it. It's savarese.org. Anyway, it's www.savarese.org. And there's a blow-by-blow how to teach yourself ASL starter kit, and he kind of breaks it down for you, what to do step by step to help you. And he's got the errata, which means mistakes if you're a Eurogamer, because Eurogames never have errata. War games always have errata. So
actually, I'm currently writing a review on a game that has a lot of errata. Carcassonne Princess and the Dragon, the new expansion. Because there's so many expansions of Carcassonne, they have to have errata because they all work with each other in different ways.
Right, so now you're going to get into the war game realm.
Carcassonne, the war game.
I'd be interested in that. So anyway, if you go to my blog, there's a link to this site. And besides the site, on the web, I don't know, the best way to learn is just to find out someone who can show you. But, that's not always easy to do.
Yeah, it seems like deeper, heavier games, no matter what genre they are, the best way is to have someone teach you the game.
That's why you should be involved in a local gaming group.
You're right. That's our plug. Our next question is from Kurt Rompot, and he says, I haven't played too many games with timers, but see where they would have their place. Perhaps you could talk about your favorite types of timers, best or most creative use of timers in games, games that need timers but don't have them, and perhaps timer etiquette that you have observed or lack thereof. Also, good sources of timers, online stores, etc. All right, so we got to cut this up. First of all, he said favorite types of timers. So actually, Joe, what is your favorite type of timer? Do you like a sand timer?
I like the sand timer. I think it's the traditional way. But I also like the chess timer that's got you can hit it and change it,
Yeah, I think my favorite timer comes in a game called Talking Tango, and it's just an electric timer that you press it and the light blinks and then it beeps. But it has 3 different settings on it, 15, 20, and 30 seconds.
Man, and you know the timer I hate is that one that's in that kids game, Aggravation. Is that Aggravation? Because when it times up, boom, all the letters go popping everywhere.
Oh, that's Perfection.
Perfection, right.
We have to stick them in?
Oh, I hate that. That always made me jump when I was a kid.
I think electric timers have a little bit better than sand timers because let's say you're playing a game and you turn it over and they have a certain amount of time before they guess something and they guess it in 10 seconds. Then you have to turn the timer either back over and then you wonder, should you let the sand run out?
Sure.
So favorite types of timers, I'm going to go with electronic.
Yeah, electronic. I don't play many games that require timers, so.
All right, then he says best or most creative use of timers in games.
Well, there's obviously that one in the GIMP game.
Oh, yes.
What's that one called? It's
Yinch.
a game that uses...
Yeah, not Yinch.
Yinch is the one I have.
Anyway, one of the GIF series, GIPF, has timers in it, and Joe is going to quickly pull it up. But I'll talk about it.
People always criticize us for not knowing what we're talking about until after the facts,
We do all this research, and we still come up... We think of things on the fly, because this is a live show. But this game, Tamsk.
Is it called Tamsk?
Tamsk. You actually have timers as your pieces, and if you don't move it fast enough and the timer runs out, then your piece dies. And they even have another special timer so you don't sit there and wait till your timer almost runs out and then quick flip it so that your opponent's runs out. They actually have another timer, and it sounds complicated, but it's actually the abstract part of the game. I thought was kind of boring, but because we were playing with timers, it made it pretty cool.
There was a time in my life when I liked to play speed chess. You ever do that?
No, but I keep reading good things about it. So.
Speed chess is cool. You got 30 seconds to make your move, and then you got the ongoing timer, which is cool. But
Joe, the next part says games that need timers but don't have them.
I thought right away which was Robo Rally.
But the new edition actually includes a timer.
It does?
Yes.
Man, I guess I'm behind that.
And the way it works is when there's only one person left, then you flip the timer.
Oh, okay. There's other games like that, isn't there?
I thought that Dungeon Twister should have a timer.
I'm glad that Ricochet Robot has timers.
I think that Java should have a timer. And any game where people take a long time to make their turns.
Analysis paralysis.
Right. With the exception of some games, like maybe a big long war game. Or
war games you can't have timers.
Right, we actually do need the time to think. But if you're going in expecting it. But if it's a game where everyone moves quickly but one person, sometimes bringing a timer in is a very political way of saying you take too long.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised. If you bring a lot of the tournaments and stuff, they bring in timers and it does tick people off. Because they, right away, this changes the whole way you play the game. Well,
it changes the way you play it.
But, most war games, you just take your turn, then you go to the bathroom and get something to drink, talk to your friends, and you come back and see if it's your turn again.
He says, what about timer etiquette that you have observed or lack thereof?
Timer etiquette?
Well, I think like in a party game, you shouldn't turn the timer when it's your turn. Someone else should turn the timer.
Right.
And you should also not notify. I hate when I play someone and they turn the timer over and it's like, hey, your time's running out.
No. Well, unless it's time's up. Because the time's up, you're like, time's up!
That's true. And when we're in time's up, I've never seen so many people sit there just literally...
A time's up's a party game.
Stay at the timer, waiting for that time to run out, and then everyone screams time's up at the top of their lungs.
Especially if it's our friends Morel and Janelle Francis.
Yeah, we have a couple who are just the absolute best time's up players.
Except for last time we played, they didn't do too well.
Well, for those of you who don't know, time's up is a party game where you're trying to guess clues given by the other person. And it has 3 rounds.
Is that out of the box? No.
No, it's R&R games.
R&R games, which I still don't know what R&R stands for.
No, no one knows what R&R stands for. It's a secret.
It's not the obvious answer, so don't think that Tom and I are dumb.
Well, I think I've guessed in actually, R&R games, he has a contest if you guess what R&R means. Or actually, he says if you figure it out, which for me equals guess. Guess what it means? You win this great prize. And I've turned in probably 300 guesses by now, and I still haven't got it right.
Yeah, well.
But maybe you will. Anyway, etiquette, just don't
touch the timer.
And a good source of timers. So I actually looked this up.
Did you?
And I couldn't find many good places. There's a lot of places on the internet that sell those real nice sand timers, but that's just a waste of money. Although you can buy the G8 game timer,
which we both own.
Right, Joe and I own this. I bought it because I wanted a timer for games that was electronic, and this is supposedly like a chess timer, but you can program it.
There's multiple options. There's like 15 different ways you can use it or something.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a pain to set it up. I mean, if you just want to do something quickly, you actually have to sit there and go through 8 different modes. But once you do have it set up, it works really well. It has a big yellow button in the middle, and you hit it, and you can set it up to work with any kind of game. You want to get someone 2-minute turns each?
For multiple player games, you can have it so each person has their own ongoing time, so that as it goes around the table, you click it, and then it will keep track of your running countdown for that player, or traditional styles.
Right. And so you can pick this up at www.123oy.com. Fun Again Games has it on their list, but it's currently not in stock. So you might be able to pick it up there, too. I picked it up, and I probably keep it.
Yeah, I thought of another game that is an inventive use of timer. Is Omega Virus, you scum. Time is running out.
You're almost as annoying as that Omega Virus.
Omega Virus is a great game.
All right, our last question from a fan is from Philip Yower, who says he's our number 1 fan. So if you are listening right now and you think you're a number 1 fan, apparently you're wrong. Here's a question for Joe and one for me. His question for Joe is, I'm trying to wean my friend off of A&A, Axis and Allies, eventually to turn him into a real wargamer, and was wondering what wargame would be good to get him into real gaming. Although I would disagree and say Axis and Allies is real gaming, but anyway. P.S. He says he is into anything about war, but Ancients is really his thing.
Wow. Well, see, that's funny because Ancients isn't my thing. No, I guess you could say a lot of different things. Hannibal, Rome versus Carthage.
Conquest of the Empire.
Conquest of the Empire, yeah. But even Conquest of the Empire isn't quite a war game. It's kind of still a Axis and Allies type game. What else? What is that new GMT series of games called? The one that's Memoir 44 kind of, that's more complicated?
Colors, Ancients.
See, this question, Tom, you asked me this question, but I don't see it on my list anywhere.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
He stuck me with a question that I wasn't ready for. Wow.
I sent it to you in the email, though.
That's not like a live TV or radio show here.
Sorry, I forgot that you didn't have it. All right, well, ask me my question.
Okay, I'll ask you your question. Let me grab your script so I know what the question is. Tom, pretty much the same thing except for this friend could become a Eurogamer. She doesn't have any attention span for war games. Huh. Any ideas? P.S. She really likes acting. I would consider RPGs, but she really does RPGs online, and I think all that dice rolling and math would turn her off.
Okay. Well, my answer for that is, if she likes acting, I think Bang's a great game. You can get into the role-playing of the Western, or Time's Up, just because part of that game, as we mentioned before, you're giving clues, but you have to do it in pantomime. Maybe Lord of the Rings or another themed game that you can just get into the theme, or even that new game by Fantasy Flight, the Descent, which is a role-playing game on the board, which looks really cool, or Runebound, or Return to the Heroes, or any of those kind of games. So that's what I would do, especially make a game that looks cool, because looks always get people in.
Well, I guess other ancient, back to my question, other ancient games, I guess you could do Hannibal. I already said Hannibal. I mean, Hammer of the Scots isn't really ancient. I guess it is kind of ancient.
I would say it's ancient.
I don't know. I guess I'll come back. I'll tell you what, I'll answer his question on my webpage because I didn't know that I'd have to answer it, and I'd like to put a few minutes of thought into it rather than just wing off a few names.
All right, so here's our questions that we got off Board Game Geek, and let's see how different or the same our answers are. The first one is, what truly defines as a war game?
I put confrontation.
But there's lots of confrontation in other games.
And that's why I like some Euro games, because I think they're not really Euro games, but they're war games in sheep's clothing.
I guess my answer is shorter. It's just that, well, not shorter, but
no, because of about Civ.
I think that the answer for me, what makes a war game? If the theme of the game is about war.
Well, I mean, it just sounds
so
pretty.
For me, that makes Memoir a war game. That makes, now sometimes though there are some area control games that have a war theme, like I guess Alexander the Great. But
there's other games that I don't know.
There is no simple answer to this question, really. It's there's
war games are the games that are good.
There's a big murky area. I mean, Joe and I will both agree that The Longest Day is a war game.
Sure.
And we'll both agree that Settlers of Catan is not.
No.
But then there's that middle gray area where you have Memoir and you have Attack and El Grande, Wallenstein, so.
Yeah, there's a gray area there.
All right, next question. Says, if you had your own game production company, which we don't, and I don't think we ever will, until I get that $100,000 in cash, what would you call it?
I would call it World War II games. No, because that's like all the games I like would be about World War II.
Well, that would be interesting.
Actually, I would just put something silly. I put 6 for you because there's 6 people in my family.
But what if you ever had another kid then?
I would just change it. 7 for you.
All right. I was originally going to say the Dice Tower.
All right. Oh, that's original.
Well, that is the name of it.
Do I get part
but
of
then
the
I thought
profits?
I should use part of my tagline, just the fun factor.
The fun factor?
The fun factor. Because if a game is no fun, then a game is not worth playing.
Unless it's historical.
If the game is not fun, the game is not worth playing. All right, what's your favorite in-game food?
Kettle-cooked chips.
I really, really like kettle-cooked chips.
I also like nachos.
But the problem with them and with nachos is they're messy, and that dripping salsa and greasy fingers is such a detriment to game.
Okay, well, then what would you say?
I said pretzels.
Pretzels?
Pretzels is where it's at.
What about a chocolate shake? I guess that would not be a food, would it?
Actually, my favorite in-game food is none. Stop the game, go eat, then come back.
No, not me, man.
All right, what about your favorite in-game drink?
Oh, I put down Diet Coke, but now that I'm thinking about it, it would probably be a chocolate shake.
A chocolate shake?
Because we can't get those in Korea, not the American style.
Mine is anything in a closed thermos container.
Oh, give me a break.
So that they can't spill on the table.
You're being so... What's the nice way to say the word I want to say?
I don't know.
Uptight?
Uptight.
Uptight.
Anyway, actually, I like root beer and iced tea.
Root beer and iced tea mixed together?
No. I don't get iced tea as often as I can in Korea. And root beer... I can't get either one of those drinks in Korea very often.
No.
So
you can't get sweet tea at all. And I like sweet tea.
All right. Now, what's the worst game trade you ever made?
Mine would be when I traded to you Tigris and Euphrates.
No.
I've wanted it back ever since that day.
Well, wouldn't that be funny if I said that was my best, but it's not. My worst trade was back in college when I first started collecting Star Wars, the collectible card game. And I went to the store and I bought a couple packs and I opened it up and it was when the first series had come out.
Oh,
and I got Darth Vader, black bordered Darth Vader. At that time he was worth $50. I had no idea. My friend said, "Oh, I really want Darth Vader." And I said, "Well, okay, I guess." And he's like, I said, "What will you give me for him?" He's like, "Well, just take anything you want from my collection." So I looked and I took a couple vehicles and a couple other cards. And I felt kind of bad because I was getting 4 cards and he was getting 1. So I took like 4 cards. And I had no idea that Darth Vader was worth that much. I never got him again. And it was really a bad trade on my part. I don't regret it too much, but it took me a long time to get that Darth Vader back. So that's probably my worst trade. How about your best trade?
Well, as I say, I hardly ever trade games, so it's hard to have a bad one. But my best one, I guess, was my most recent one because my wife liked it so much, and that's when I traded with you for that Mega Trade Part 2.
Copyrighted.
Copyrighted. Mega Trade Part 2. You can read about it on my blog. Hey, we gotta get a little soundbite for my blog.
All right, well.
Anyway, no, the Mega Trade Part 2, where I traded off some games that Tom wanted, including like Starfarers of Catan with the expansion, Street Soccer, and that very clever pipe game. All games that some of those games I like Starfarers, but I don't really like the other two that much. And I traded it for Barbarossa, Hellas, and some other games that my wife really liked, and so it made her happy, and it was her birthday gift. So
my best trade is when I traded all my 40K stuff to Richard Borg for a whole pile of games.
You got a pile of games, dude.
I got a pile of board games.
Yeah, but Richard Borg got a lot of 40K.
He got more Eldar than most people ever have seen, but it worked out both ways. All right, last question is, what game designer would you most want to playtest a new game for?
I put down Don Greenwood. Don
Greenwood is the king of the war games, I guess.
Yeah, he did
ASL. Or
ASL.
the great-grandfather.
He did ASL.
For me, I don't know.
Or Jim Dunnigan would be a good one,
It would
too.
be hard to pick my favorite game designer. Because in a playtest form, a game is different than the final. So for me, I think part of it would be Christian Peterson, because he makes games that are filled with theme, like Twilight Imperium 3. Or maybe Bruno Fiducci, because I just like...
I wish they would have asked...
like his chaotic.
What games designer would I not want to test? I would say something like Richard Berg.
Oh, I was just going to say the same thing, because Richard Berg's initial game designs, of which Joe and I have seen.
We've play tested before.
And they're really bad. I mean, not really bad, but they're not play tested. So you play it, you're like, this is totally unbalanced.
I don't want to say the name of the other designer that we play tested his game for, but remember, we had questions about the rules, and he'd be like, oh, sure, just go ahead and change it. And I was like, what?
What, that mythology game?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what, though? The final product of that might actually be a pretty good game.
He was just so like, oh.
Well, again, if you have any questions, email us at
I like doing play test. I'm actually doing a play test right now with multi-man. Not really doing a play test, but I'm considering being involved in an early play of a game that's not in production yet.
Joe, the play tester.
But it's quite an involved game, and wow. The rule book is, I got a copy of the rule book, and it's like 60 pages for a Word document.
Well, so much for that.
So that's why I'm still debating whether I have to jump in it or not. Looks great.
You're listening to The Dice Tower at www.thedicetower.com with Tom Vassell and Joe Stedman.
Oh, we played a lot of, actually...
What was that? I was like this voice from outer space just interrupted my thoughts.
We've actually played actually for me anyway, I played many fewer games this week than normal. I've only played 4, I think.
Only 4 games total?
Yeah, I played one several times, Pacru, but other than that...
What is Pacru?
I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later.
Oh, okay.
So you have to wait till then.
I won't steal your thunder.
Actually, last week someone asked us to predict our next games that we were going to play and who would win them.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the life of me, I can't remember what I predicted. Except I remember I predicted I'd play HeroScape.
And you said that I would win.
And, no, I said that Joe was going to go down.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
But there was a point in the game.
I'll admit it. There was a point in the game when, because of my illustrious 12-year-old teammates, I was a little bit nervous about the final outcome of our game.
Well, I think Joe made a flanking maneuver that he got kind of snared up in. And
because I had no support. No, you're right. I made an aggressive maneuver.
Well, a couple of the kids had to leave, so I took over. And
I made an aggressive maneuver on newbie players, and next thing you know, Tom's like, oh, let me take over. But I still won, so I don't care.
Well, I tried. Anyway.
I'm 5-0 in HeroScape. Or 6-0.
6-0?
6-0, man.
Man, this was a really cool one, though. We added the lava, and we added the roads.
Lava death.
And it was HeroScape is so cool.
Speaking of hot lava death, Tom, we need to come up with some taglines, man. Some people can make fun of us and stuff.
Yeah, send us your taglines.
Maybe that'd be our next board game contest.
Send us a good tagline?
Yeah, I'll do that in the next thing. I'll add it to our contest just for fun.
Okay. Other games that I played was Incognito, the card game, which I was kind of... it was too easy, too simple. I wasn't very impressed by it. And then I played the First World War.
Don't everyone's going to start drooling because this is,
With Joe, because it's a war game, I guess, but it wasn't too warish.
I liked it. It's a 4-player World War I, very, very light, gray game,
Yeah, by Ted Racier. And as the Germans, I got stomped.
But you got stomped for a reason. It wasn't the game, it was you.
Yeah, we surrendered. Thank you for saying it was me.
I think the game, I like to play it again just to see if it was, let me play Germans or someone else who has a better understanding of tactics and strategy.
It's your turn. What games did you play?
Matter of fact, I played a game called the First World War, and let me talk about that. No, that game's not even out yet, is it?
It's just coming out now, but I'm going to give it a tentative thumbs up.
Yeah, I liked it. I played ASL, an ASL starter kit, of course, and I got to play an oldie, the 1965 Battle of the Bulge. It's an old game, and I like it because the German counters are pink. Anyway, I played with a buddy of mine who wanted to play something besides ASL, because we've been playing ASL a lot lately, so he's never played any type of strategy game at all besides ASL, so I brought out something very simple. And you can teach the Battle of the Bulge 1965 in 10 minutes. And so we were playing that. And then also I played another golden oldie, West End Games. I played, my wife and we played Star Trek, the Exploration game.
Yeah, Joe was actually raving to me at lunch one time about it.
Yeah, it's actually really fun. It's one person plays the Klingons, the other person plays the Federation, and you explore a neutral area in the middle of planets. It's like a space exploration, and it's paragraph. It's like Ambush. If you ever played Ambush, it's the same thing. You land on a planet, the opponent reads a paragraph, and you choose your own adventure. Okay, I'll do this, and then they turn to this page number, then you roll a die, and this happens, and it's really funny because of the Klingons, they encouraged you to be aggressive. So I found these aliens, and it said, would you like to offer them a trade agreement? Would you like to, say you come in peace, or would you like to kill them? So I started killing them. And I got a favorable response for killing the aliens.
Yeah, we have it's the end of the first quarter this week, and there's
we both teach at a high school,
right.
Junior high, and
there's a conference at our church, so I think this week is going to have even lower games than next week. But you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
It's a busy time outside of gaming for Tom and I this week.
I may bring a couple games to that conference. You never know.
It's a marriage conference, and you're going to bring board games.
Hey, we got to keep marriage.
I'll bring Battle of the Sexes, and you bring the relationship tightrope.
All right, each week, or at least until we get bored of doing this, we're doing player categories, and we'll try not to do them twice in a row.
Which I have done before.
But these two I know are new. So my player category this week is the suck up, and there's this person doesn't always show up, but they usually show up when there's a real dominant personality, and they show up in games that are usually multiplayer war games like Risk. And they're the kind of person who they're very content being in second place because someone else is going to win, and they will help that person, and they'll make an alliance with that person, even if it's at a detriment to themselves. And you wonder, how dumb are they? Do they not know as soon as that guy has destroyed everyone else, he's going to come after them? And I'll sit there and I'll plead with them. I would say, look, he's going to win. He's going to turn on you. Oh, that's okay. At least I got second place. And that's what they want.
You're talking about Ryan, our friend, aren't you?
No, I'm talking about people in college. I would play with, another guy, and he would attack me first, and, that's nice. I feel kind of honored that I would be attacked first. Kind of. But, come on. Wake up, people. Just because the guy is helping you now doesn't mean he always will. But some of these people are very content with second place. If they're not the first person eliminated, they're very happy, and they will help a dominant personality. So I call them the suck-ups.
Now, the guy that I want to talk about this week, Tom kind of talked about this person before, but I call him the groundskeeper. And it's a little bit different than Tom. Tom talked about a guy that always keeps his pieces straight and all these things. Now, the groundskeeper is the guy that not only keeps his own pieces straight, but he keeps everything on the board straight. He keeps the other players' pieces straight. He's the guy that, if the cards are supposed to be orientated a certain direction, he'll reach across the board after every player's turn and fix the card. Or, if you just drop your plastic pieces into a zone and then start doing something else, he's going to reach over and start rearranging your plastic pieces so they're all facing the right direction. Or, whatever. There's good groundskeepers and there's bad groundskeepers. The good groundskeepers, those are the ones that are polite about it. They're just trying to help everybody out. And they don't say anything. They just politely fix things because to them, that's what they have to do. They're the groundskeeper. Then there's the bad groundskeeper. Those are the ones that are like, Tom, will you please straighten your cards? Tom, will you please fix your pieces? Tom, So there's good and bad. And this one is not original to me either. Someone else sent me this one, but I liked it, so I thought I'd read it. So the groundskeeper.
So those are our player categories.
I was going to say, I'll give you 5 geek gold if you'll categorize. This is more work than it's worth, but if you'll go and listen to all of our shows, at least the past 10 shows, and tell us what geek categories we've done. What player categories we've done, because I hate to copy them again. I'll give you 5 geek gold.
All right. Joe has just made an offer you cannot refuse.
And wait, the turkeys and you got to do the turkeys too, and the kangaroos.
Kangaroos and turkeys. All right. Help Joe out.
Yes.
You're listening to The Dice Tower at www.thedicetower.com with Tom Vassell and Joe Stedman.
Tiny kangaroo down, sport. Tiny kangaroo down, oh, tiny kangaroo down, sport. Tiny kangaroo down.
And that means it's time for our Kangaroos, taken from Joe's name. He's the Joey, of course. And Kangaroos are games that we liked or we didn't like when we first played them, and then as time went on, they've got better and better. So they're not necessarily great games. That just means we like them now more than we used to.
Sure.
So I'll go first. Mine is Puerto Rico. And
I almost puked just now. Hold on.
When I first got Puerto Rico, I bought it because it was the number 1 rated game on Board Game Geek. And so therefore I thought it would be the number 1 game I've ever played in my life. And it wasn't. And it was an okay game, but I was incredibly disappointed because I was expecting a smashing, stunning game. And it was when I was first getting into the German invasion of games. And so it was a little, there was so many other games I thought were much more fun. Now that I've played it more, because I play with some people who really like to play it, not Joe, but I play it more. Now they've added an expansion, which gives you different tiles that you can throw into the mix. I'm liking it more and more. Puerto Rico lets you pick different roles, and I really like that concept. I like that they added to Twilight Imperium 3, and the concept of Puerto Rico is good. I will not play it against anyone who has a scripted version of the game or someone who has the perfect strategy, but against people who are just willing to have a fun time, Puerto Rico has gotten a lot better for me. I enjoyed it a lot more, and so Puerto Rico is my kangaroo for the month.
So you're
Joe's going to agree with me. It's also his kangaroo.
All right. So you're saying that you enjoy it because it's a game that you can sit there and just let the game play, and you just sit there and socially interact when the game finishes, and you see who won. Right?
Man, I'm not going to smash your game.
All right. Well, mine's actually a Euro game, kind of. I guess it is.
No, it's a Euro game.
It's a Euro game. It just has a war game feel to it. This is the 2002 game called Hellas. It's from the Cosmos two-player game, the two-player game series. It's a cute little game, tile placement game, where it's ancient Greece, and there's two different colors, and you're basically trying to get 10. If you can control 10 cities, you win, and you can stop each other by invading each other, playing cards, whatever. Well, anyway, when I first played the game, I just walked away thinking that was, ugh. I think the reason I thought it was bad is because I got totally smashed by the person I was playing. And
I think we were playing it at 1 in the morning, though.
Yeah, I think you brought it out really late, and you showed it. You set it up, we played it, and you beat me like 10-4. And I was like, what was so fun about that? And so years later,
well, you have to give it 2. We played it right after we played Lord of the Rings Confrontation.
Right.
Which is a really great game.
Yeah. And so I didn't think too much of it. And then just last month there, for my wife's birthday, this was part of the trade. I wanted to get a two-player game, and I've heard other people say that it was a good two-player game that was very warish. So I thought maybe I'd give it a chance. And sure enough, my wife and I really like it. And we go about 50-50 on win-loss. So it's a cute game, and it's pretty confrontational, which I always encourage.
All right.
Hellas.
So those are our kangaroos, Puerto Rico, and Hellas. Our hot games of the month, and we do this once a month. We pick games that aren't in our top 10, but they're games we're playing a lot of and games that we enjoy. So, Joe, what's your hot game of the month?
Well, my hot game of the month, Tom, is another game from the mega trade that we just did, Barbarossa.
Oh, is that about a World War II battle?
Right, that's exactly why I traded for it. I thought, this is that game that has to do with, the operation where the Germans invaded. This is where the Germans invaded the Russia, over there. And I thought, wow, great war game, and I couldn't figure out quite how you use clay. Maybe you had to make little tanks and little German soldiers.
Yeah, but there's little arrows that you can stab people with.
You stab things, right? And this is Operation Barbarossa. No, anyway, it's actually Barbarossa is a 1988 game by Klaus Tuber. It's a cute party game. It's 6 players, and you have to make little clay figures. Of different nouns, and you gotta try to make the other players guess what your thing is, but you don't want to make it too good, because if you're one of the first people whose figure is guessed, you lose points, and you don't want to make it too hard, because if you're the last couple people who get their figure chosen, you lose points. You want to be just somewhere in the middle. But my wife really liked this game. It was in our top 10 list. I did a show 15 shows ago or whatever it was, 10 shows ago, and this was in our top 10, so I thought I'd get it, and I really like it. We've played it a couple times and since we've acquired it, and everyone we've played it with has really liked it. And I'd like to know where they get the clay, because that game's is how old now? Over 10 years old. It's a pretty old game.
Well, it could be produced later.
Well, either way, the clay is like brand new still.
Yeah, it's
real high quality
clay.
So Barbarossa is my game of the month.
I think some people have been forwarding through the show to this point, and you're like skipping through. You're trying to find out where you announce the winners of the contest. Well, you can stop doing that now because we're there. 2 weeks ago, we announced our contest.
You didn't say your hot game of the month.
Yeah, I did. Oh, I didn't.
I guess you have no hot game of the month.
I do have a hot game. I'm sorry. My hot game of the month is Pacru. Pacru, Shakru. There's actually 3 sets of rules that come in the game. Pacru is an abstract game, of which I'm starting to like now, these abstract games.
Oh, this is the Tron game.
And it reminded me of Tron, because you have 4 pieces or 3 pieces, depending on how many people are playing, and you're moving it around the board one space at a time, leaving a trail behind you, and you cannot go on through someone else's trail. And
light cycles.
The original game is very... I think the original game is called Shakru, and that's all it is. And it's pretty fun. I mean, for how simple it is. Then the advanced game adds special moves in, and then the final game adds even more in, and actually changes a little bit of the game. And Joe thought it looked pretty boring when he saw it, but I have enjoyed it. I played it several times now against my 5-year-old daughter, who didn't do very well at it, but she did understand the concept, and it's a really interesting game. I'm looking forward to playing it more, and I'll write a full review up on the internet later. Okay, now we'll talk about the contest. What we did 2 weeks ago, our Fantasy Flight Games generously has donated 2 copies of Beowulf, including a signed poster by the game's designer, Rainer Knizia, and the game's artist, John Howe, who does tremendous artwork. I just got Beowulf in today, my copy of it, and it is an amazing-looking game. I looked over the rules, looks very interesting. The artwork is fabulous, and 2 people won it. How did they win it? They had to email us their 5 worst games, but not what they thought were the 5 worst, although many people did that.
I guess they didn't understand the rules quite, but anyway.
Well, some people emailed us their 5 worst and then the contest 5 worst. Basically, you were trying to match everybody else. If you put down, for example, let me pick a game. If you put down Titan, and how many people put down Titan? 3 people put down Titan. So everyone who put down Titan got 3 points. And
how many games got 1 vote?
I don't have that number in front of me, but I do know that there was over 130 different games
that were nominated.
Yeah, this was our by far our biggest participation in the contest yet. It was really exciting.
But I'm guessing that this war game contest will be bigger.
Well, you never know. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Let's announce these so these people can breathe in. What we did is I tallied up all the points, and here were the worst games of all times according to you, or at least what you thought everyone else would say. We'll start with anyone who got over 10 votes. Crocodile Pool Party, those are people I think who were sucking up to me. And Time Control, that has a fairly bad reputation. War and Global Survival, Munchkin, Outdoor Survival, Risk, Bingo, Flux.
Now these are all games that got more than 10 votes?
Right. Flux actually got 21. LCR, and then here were the 5 top games.
Time.
If you picked all 5 of these, then you automatically won.
Yeah, if you pick these 5 games, then you can count on you being the winner.
In fact, well, I'll say in a second. Tic-Tac-Toe.
Ooh.
Got 33 people voting for it. Snakes and Ladders, or Shoots and Ladders, got 38 people. The Game of Life got 36. Candyland got 56. And in a move I think is unfortunate,
no,
Monopoly got 74 by far.
Yay!
I'm very disappointed.
Which version of Monopoly? Was it Star Wars Monopoly or Simpsons Monopoly?
So what I did was I went through and added up everyone's points. If you want to know your point total, you can email me and I will tell you your exact point total. But we're just going to talk about the top people. There was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 people who scored over 200. 2 of those people got the top scores of 237. The people who just missed that were Mark Haberman, Paul Jordan, Debbie Hughes, Robert Kaligian, Jason Landreth, and Charles Haswaga. And obviously, if you pick those top 5 games, you know now that you've won. But our 2 winners, who each will receive an email from us, and we'll tell you what to do next, and they'll receive a copy of Beowulf and a signed poster, are, Joe, tell us.
The first guy is Ken Just.
A name we can finally pronounce.
And another guy is Mark Forit.
And another name we can pronounce.
I think.
Congratulations to Ken and Mark.
Well, good job. I'm proud of you. Now, who are some people that are in the top 20 that are going to get mad? Ninja Bob.
Ninja Bob always comes close.
Fox. Richard Fox. He always gets close. Anybody else?
No, well, I don't know. A lot of these people, if it's your first time entering, or even if it's our 4th contest, your 4th time entering, do not give up hope. We have another contest, and Joe's going to introduce that contest for us, as well as tell us about the game that we're about to try and win.
Right. Well,
because I know nothing about it.
Anyway, this contest is, as you have guessed, is a war game. You get a war game for this contest. Multi-Man Publishing has been very generous. Multi-Man Publishing is most known for their ASL. They're the ones that currently hold the license. They're not hold the license, but they're the ones who are producing ASL. But they've also got a large line of other games that they produce on their own. The Devil's Cauldron is one that's coming up. I'm looking real excited to. There's lots of games that they've done, but the one that they have offered us for the contest is Fire in the Sky. Now, Fire in the Sky is a game that covers the Pacific War and World War II. It's a Japanese game, actually. It's a very famous Japanese game that was reprinted for us in English by Tetsui Nakarumura. Anyway, Fire in the Sky has got huge reviews. People really like the game. It's average rating of above 8. It's very clean, really well-designed game. It's been around for a while. It's a great game, and it's free if you can win our contest.
And Joe, just what is our contest?
Anyway, well, our contest, I thought I'd make it somewhat war game related. There's 2 ways that you can get for this contest. The first way is you have to tell us what are the big 3 battles that our war games are about. So there's 3 battles through history that people like to play war games about. So if you can tell us the top 3, this is not subjective. This is according to Joe. Actually, this is a pretty agreed upon thing with the war gamers. So if you're a Eurogamer and you have no idea, you're gonna have to do a little research. And so you can enter the contest that way. That'll give you 1 entrance. And then you can also enter the contest by telling us what are the 3 big areas that war games are, as far as times in history that are warred in games. And so there's 2 possible ways you can enter the contest. And just for fun, if you'd like, and if it's a good one and we really like it, maybe we'll pick the top 10 taglines, and they'll give you a 3rd entrance into the contest. So, all right. So if you can give me and Tom, each of us, a tagline. A tagline being some catchy phrase. Like, Tom, give us an example of a catchy phrase.
Hot lava death.
Hot lava death, or shut up. It really ticks me off. Shut up. So anyway, there's 3 possible votes that you can get. This is for Fire in the Sky by Multi-Man Publishing. Multi-Man Publishing is really doing great things. I'm really, really excited about Multi-Man Publishing, and just lately I've been talking to them a lot with their ASL. I've been really into ASL lately, and they've been really generous to me in my ministry here with American Soldiers. And I'm thankful to them, and I hope you enter this contest. I think you'll really like this game.
The contest, you have until October 25th to email us those entries. Email us at thedicetower@gmail.com. Employees of the Dice Tower and their families are not allowed to participate
come on.
in this contest. So
you had to say that.
Well, Joe was going to have all 4 of his kids send me an email.
Right. Well, that's it. I have to go open up a bunch of bogus email accounts now. But anyway, now we'll keep on moving. So if you have any questions about the contest or whatnot, just give me an email and drop me an email, and I'd love to
email
answer.
joe7@gmail.com, and he will give you any information you need.
Except for the answers to those 2 questions.
Right.
And now it's time for the weekly top 10 list.
All right, we're taking our cue for our top 10 list from the contest that we just had, and I guess top 10 list is a wrong name. It should be our bottom 10, but we're going to pick our top 10 least favorite games.
Right.
Now, I guess we should clarify, at least for me, my list are games I do not like playing.
Right.
Maybe not, and games I think are bad.
They're not necessarily broken games or games that you should avoid like the plague. They're just games that I don't like.
For example, I didn't include tic-tac-toe in my list because I don't really consider tic-tac-toe a board game. I don't consider bingo a board game.
I have nothing public domain in mine at all.
I have a couple, but we'll see when we get to them.
Well, I guess I have 1 public domain. What about honorable mentions? You want to say? Why don't you
go ahead and do the honorable mentions.
Tell us your honorable mentions first.
All right, my honorable mentions, and some of them are on Joe's list.
I guess it wouldn't be honorable. It'd be like dishonorable.
Dishonorable mentions. Candyland, War, Time Control, Skip Bow, Risk, Warriors, Cheater, Tenjo, Trouble, and Pictionary.
Man. My honorable mentions are Wonger, which is a horrible game, Connect 4, Age of Mythology, which is the only bummer in the whole Eagle line, in my opinion, Globalopolis, Sorry, War on Terror, which is a bummer from Decision Games, and Jenga and Hangman.
So those are our dishonorable mentions.
Those are dishonorable mentions.
All right. So who's going to go first today? You or me?
I can go first.
All right. Here we go.
Number 10.
It's hard for me to keep a serious face when I got that strange man talking in the background. I'll get over it. Just give me 1 episode to get over it. All right. My number 10 is I had to agree with the masses. If someone pulls out Monopoly, I'm just going to look the other way. I'm going to avoid it. I don't want to play it. Don't bring it out. There's so many better games out there. It's too long for what you get. There's too many house rules that people think are real rules. The whole game is just, avoid it like the plague.
I'm really in the mood for a Monopoly game. If someone wants to play with the exact rules as written, I'm ready to do it. I like Monopoly.
It's just
I mean, I don't love it.
It's pure luck. And then it comes down to, like, if you're willing to sell your stuff or not.
It's not my top 200 games, but I'll play Monopoly. I think it's gotten a much worse rap than it deserves.
Just because it's horrible.
All right. Well, my number 10 game is also rather common. It's Uno. And I think...
Uno?
I think Uno is not necessarily such a bad game, per se. It's just that, for me, my family played it scores and scores and scores of times as a child, and I just got sick of it. And I hate when you only have one choice card to play. Sometimes you have more than one choice, but frankly, it's usually just one. And I guess I read it somewhere there's a variation where you try and get all the cards of one color into your hand.
What?
You try and get as many cards as possible.
What about that Uno that shoots cards at you? That's
Uno
kinda,
attack?
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I guess. The kids like it, but for me. Anyway, my number 10 is Uno.
Number 9.
You're going to laugh at every single one of
Okay,
these.
I'm not going to laugh no more. All right, my number 9 is for my wife. I asked her, I said, honey, what games do I hate? And she goes, well, there's a game that I like that you really hate. And I was like, what is it? She says, Yahtzee. She's right. I can play like a half a game of Yahtzee until I just don't want to play no more, and I start getting sidetracked, and I'll start checking my email, and and it really aggravates my wife, and so Yahtzee is my number 9.
I've played electronic Yahtzee, which is okay, and I don't mind triple Yahtzee. I think I'm coming around to Yahtzee too.
I got Casino Yahtzee, which at least adds a little bit of strategy to it.
Yeah, I have another Yahtzee variation. I forget what it's called. Yahtzee Doom, or I don't remember.
Is it Doom Yahtzee?
Yahtzee
What do you
Doom.
like, try to kill monsters with your dice?
It's a war game Yahtzee. My number 9 game is Go Fish. Everyone knows about Go Fish. You say Go Fish, and it pulls something from your hand. To me, you're just guessing a card that someone else has in their hand. How exciting is that? I guess it teaches kids some stuff, and there's a lot of games that are coming out nowadays that have Go Fish as their starting point. I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't even like fishing that much. So maybe that has something to do with it. So my number 9 game is Go Fish.
Number 8.
All right. My number 8 is a game called Flux.
Okay.
If you know the game Flux.
Flux made my almost dishonorable mentions.
Flux is a really weird card game to where you can either play it one hand for an hour or one hand for one hand. I mean, it takes 1 minute. It's so random. Avoid it. It's just a card game where you're trying to complete a mission or complete your goal, and it's just totally random, and it's just not fun.
I know there's people who like Flux, and that's great and all. I tried to like it. It's just not that good of a game.
It's not.
It's just too wild and random. And wild and random is fun sometimes, but sometimes a game of Flux will take 30, 40 minutes, and that's just not fun.
Nope.
My number 8 game is Parcheesi.
Really?
Which I guess is this old...
I like Parcheesi.
It's the old classic...
Indian game,
boring,
right?
blah, move your piece around the track, block other pieces, step on them. It's hard for me to put into words why I don't like it. I just find it incredibly boring. I'd rather play even Sorry or Trouble. But each of those...
Same game, basically.
Yeah, but Sorry has a card where you say, sorry, and Trouble has a little popper.
The popper is cool.
Okay, and both those things elevate them above Parcheesi. Parcheesi has nothing to save it.
I got the new Parcheesi with the little elephants and little tigers.
And I almost bought it, even though I hate the game, just because they were such cool pieces, and then I realized that I'm poor. So my number 8 game is Parcheesi.
Number 7.
I picked another mass game here. I picked the Game of Life. And it almost didn't make my list because of the spinner.
Yeah, the spinner is really cool.
But man, and I think today, even if you went to the house where I grew up at today, 20 years later, 25 years later, and you got on your hands and knees and went through the carpet, you could probably find those little man and little women pegs.
That's true.
I hated them.
I have such nostalgia because when I was a kid, I'd get married and have 4 kids. And, oh wait,
yeah, but see, Tom,
I'm there now.
Tom, when they look at your car, there'd be 2 boys in the front seat, and people are like, Tom.
Not my car. My car, what I do is I fill up the whole back, and then I start piling more kids in the back. It'd be like 10 kids in my car.
So if you did yours nowadays, it'd be you and then a whole bunch of pink ones.
Don't you get money, though, when you finish the end for each kid you have? You get like $50,000?
No, that's America for welfare.
You're cashing your kids in. I don't know. I didn't put it on my list because I just had some nostalgia. And that spinner...
But it's totally boring.
How comes no one makes a good game with that spinner?
Wheel of Fortune?
I don't know. My number 7 game is Waterworks.
I like Waterworks. The wrenches are cool.
Maybe. I just don't like that the pipes have to be in a specific direction and your water has to flow. That's all sounds good, but after playing games like Carcassonne where you can place tiles in any direction...
I think we need to play Waterworks again. Me and you.
Yeah, if you hit me with a wrench, then I'll play it.
I think we should play it.
So what was that, number 7? My number 7 game is Waterworks.
Number 6.
You said you wouldn't laugh.
It just sounds like there's a voice coming from somewhere. Anyway, all right. Number 6 is my only public domain game. It's not really public domain because I guess you got to buy the pieces somewhere. But
it's public domain.
Checkers. I can't stand checkers. I won't play them. I hate it. I've hated it since I was 6 years old. There's no strategy unless you do like butterfly jumps and all those crazy house rules that you can think of.
There's a really good checkers variant that I like called King's Court, where all your checkers are super checkers to start the game off with, and they're in a. I think you'd like it. It's for me. It was really fun.
I forget what it was, but I know that if you play straight checkers with no house rules, there's like whoever goes first automatically loses.
Checkers has been solved, I believe, by computers, but either way, it's just there's so many other good abstract games.
Checkers, no way. Keep it away.
So, my number 6 is Word Blind, a game that most of you have probably never heard of, and because it's such a terrible, horrible, wretched pile of filth game, you probably never will. As you can tell, I'm not a fan of it.
Is it a spelling game?
It's a really heavy game. Well, the game itself, it advertises that there's like 2 million ways to set up the board. And there's these cards, and you set them down and you make a board. But the card will be like a nothing card, or go back 1, or lose a turn. I mean, I'm sorry, but 2 million variations of boring is still boring. And the game itself is just like, it's so hard. And
like Geist, a game I hated, which was almost on my list.
You're trying to guess words, and you get a clue for the word, and the first clue is really hard. The second clue is, I don't know. It's one of the few games that we quit like 5 minutes in. That's how horrible it was. And I was playing with my friend Ryan, who is the most easygoing gamer ever, and he hated it. And if me and Ryan both hate a game, then you know it's really bad.
It's bad.
My number 6 game, Word Blind.
Number 5.
My number 5 is a game called Boggle. And I'm sure everyone's heard of Boggle. It's one of the mass media games. I can't stand it. I can't stand that little tube, or that little thing you shake, and it's got the little letter cubes. Maybe it's because I was never hooked on phonics, and so I don't like spelling.
Yeah.
And I just don't enjoy it.
I don't really like it, but I don't think it's bad. It's kind of just like...
I look at it, it just gives me a headache. I can spell this word this way or that way, or I can go like a 90-degree turn and spell it. It's not fun. I mean, it feels like I'm back in grammar. High school grammar or something. I don't want to play it. Forget it.
My number 5 game by Twilight Creations is another game I think terrible things about. I think we talked about this game last week, and it's The Haunting House. Oh, it's terrible. Horrible. I mean, you pick 3 actions and move your person through the house, and then there's random actions, and you just randomly put a card down, and you hope that you don't just retreat back the way you came. It's so frustrating when random actions by yourself hurt you. You know, when I play a game and someone else's random actions hurt me, I can forgive them because I think either that they're not very smart, or they just didn't know what they were doing, or they were just deliberately trying to get me. But when I'm forced to put down random cards and they hurt me, that's just moronic. Don't even buy this game. It's the worst. No, it's not the worst game. It's obviously number 5 on my list. The Haunting House. It's the 5th worst game I've ever played.
Number 4.
All right. Number 4, we're starting to get into the games that people might start disagreeing with us now.
Oh, really?
Well,
I haven't even looked at your top 4.
My number 4 is Transamerica, and Transamerica is horrible. It's total boring, waste of time, elementary school kid game. I'm sorry. And if I was in 5th grade, I might like it.
I really like Ben DeLong. He's a good friend of mine.
He's a designer, right?
I'm not a huge fan of Transamerica. I think it was an okay game.
Then they went around and ripped people off by making Trans Europe. It's the same stinking game.
Anyway, he's designed some really good games. He's designed Big City, which is one of my favorites.
Big City is a good game. He's
designed Manila, which is a good bluffing game, and it's coming in the mail, Joe. I think you'll really like it. But Transamerica isn't my favorite. However, it was wildly popular when it came out. There's a lot of people who like it.
Why? I've had the game, I owned it, and I tried to like it, and I hated it so much, but I even downloaded variant rules that made it so it was like combat. You could like attack each other, and I still didn't like it. Yeah, it's horrible. Don't get it.
My number 4 game is Chutes and Ladders. Now wait, you may say, Tom, that is a children's game. How can you're an adult. You shouldn't like children's games.
Tom's taking an easy way out. He don't want to offend anybody in his list.
But the reason I don't like Chutes and Ladders is because What, you don't think I just offended the designer of Haunting House? Anyway, the Chutes and Ladders, the reason I don't like it is because it's a game for kids. And there's many, many great games for kids, but Chutes and Ladders teaches kids absolutely nothing. You roll the die or spin the spinner, whatever the game comes with, you move your piece, and then you go up a ladder, down a chute, or do nothing. And that's it. There's no choices, nothing in the game. It's a poor game. If you're a parent and you have Chutes and Ladders in your house, you should not be playing it with your kids.
Well, even in Candyland, isn't there a choice you can take the one route or the shorter route with mud or with the
Candyland is almost the same way. The reason I didn't put Candyland in my bottom 10 is because, one, the candy theme is really cool.
It is pretty cool.
And two, there's some variants that you can play where you give the kids a hand of cards, and you can play a color card, and that way it teaches them a little bit. But that variant is still a variant, and so Candyland would probably be number 11 on my list. But my number 4 game is Chutes and Ladders or Snakes and Ladders. Your choice.
Number 3.
Now, I can't believe this. Number 3 is a war game. Well, it's kind of a war game. It's a game that every time I've played it, it just ticks me off. I can't play it when I get so mad because the game, you put some time into it, and then there's these all uber powerful cards that will totally change the whole game. Even though you've played it for an hour, some guy can play a card and change the whole game. And it's Risk 2210. While it's got cool bits.
Really cool bits.
I like the little mechs and all this, and I like the idea.
Really cool little mechs.
But even my friend Bob, who doesn't normally get mad, he even got so mad. But it was one of the funniest moments I've ever had in a game. He saved up his cards, and he hated the game. He wasn't playing. We're like, what's he doing? And all of a sudden on his turn, he played like 7 or 8 nukes. Kaboom, kaboom, just started blowing up parts on the board. And
he nuked Earth.
Yeah, he just made it into a wasteland.
Not only did he nuke Earth, he nuked the moon. I had so many armies, I was going to win the game.
Yes.
And they all died.
And the first time I played the game, I got a bad taste in my mouth because the very first turn, I didn't even get a chance to play. I guess it's because I'm the best player that made me last. And so by the time it got around to my turn, I was eliminated.
Yeah, I've never done that to someone before.
It was a combination of some guy attacked me and made me kind of weak.
Why don't you just say it was me?
No, you weren't the first. Someone attacked me, made me weak, and then on Tom's turn, he took advantage of my weakness and just wham, 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 I was out of the game. And it was like, well, I like that game. I never got a chance to move a piece.
Risk 2210 for me falls in the middle of my games. It's not a game I dislike. It's not a game I like a lot, but I like it. I like it more than Joe does, obviously.
I'd rather play regular, old-fashioned Risk.
Now, my number 3 game is my Whipping Boy, and I'm kind of afraid if I ever meet the designer of it, but it's Crocodile Pool Party. The Cosmos 2-player line has made great games, fabulous games, good games, and some mediocre games, and then one piece of garbage. And that piece of garbage is Crocodile Pool Party.
Wow, Tom.
Joe, isn't it a bad game?
It's not a good game, no.
Okay, so that is my number 3 game, Crocodile Pool Party. It's an abstract game disguised as a theme game, but what they really should have done is an abstract game disguised as a piece of rotten peelings from potatoes.
Why potatoes? That's just a weird thing.
Sorry, I was trying to think of an inoffensive thing. Crocodile Pool Party. Don't buy it. Don't even read the instructions.
Next time you see it, just think of rotting potato peels.
All right, so that's my number 3 game, Crocodile Pool Party.
Number 2.
Oh, man, I can't believe it. I'm bringing out one of the golden oldie Avalon Hill games here. And it's
you're saying a war game?
Yes, another war game. And this one is, wow, it's the famous one, Kriegspiel. Now, Kriegspiel is one of the worst games that Avalon Hill ever made. It's a generic piece of rotten potato peel. That's all it is.
All right, we're not going to let that one go, are we?
Anyway, no, it's basically what the story I heard, and maybe someone can, maybe Gary or Walt or one of these guys that are our friends that know everything, they can write and tell me the real story. But the story I heard was that they had some game. Jim Dunnigan was supposed to make a game, and he didn't come up with it by the time, and so they asked some other guy, and he threw it together like in a week. And you can tell when you play it. It's horrible. It's got some really fiddly rules, and it's generic war. There's the red team versus the blue team. Really, the only thing it's good for is, like my friend Gary said, is it's good for a miniatures campaign map if you want to use the map that came in it for a miniatures game. That's about the extent of it. And the sad thing is, I think I read that Avalon Hill sold 64,000 copies of this game.
Oh, boy.
This is the game you'll see on eBay for $1, brand new. So don't get it. Stay away on eBay. It's not a war game. It's a piece of rotten potato peel.
My number 2 game is not checkers, like Joe said, but Chinese checkers.
Oh, come on.
I really dislike Chinese checkers, especially when you're playing with 6 players. All your pieces get clogged up in the middle, and time goes into slow motion.
Do you play where you can play the points on the edges? Instead of going around a long way, you can jump on the corners?
No.
Yeah, that's the real rule.
Well, I won't ever play it again to find out.
So you think Chinese checkers is worse than regular checkers?
I do.
You're weird.
Well, I'm sorry. Chinese checkers is a horrible game, especially when you get the marble version and someone bumps the tray and all the marbles roll off.
Oh, man.
Whoever thought marbles was a good idea for a game that should just use discs.
No, marbles are cool.
No, in a game where they roll.
No. My uncle. I got childhood memories of Chinese. My uncle made this 2x2 piece of wood with engraved, with the indentions for the marbles and all that, and it's beautiful. And as a matter of fact, I'm not sure what happened to it, but it was really nice.
Well, anyway, my number 2 game is Chinese checkers.
And finally, number 1.
Oh, good. Okay.
What's your number 1 worst game of all time?
Well, I had a hard time deciding, so I just went and put both of them down. It's Save or Kill, Dr. Lucky. You choose, because they both suck. Dr. Lucky, the worst game I've ever played. And this game is a game by Chia Games, I call them. And basically the concept of the game is there's some professor in a house, and
it's the opposite of Clue.
It's the opposite.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the prequel to Clue.
The prequel to Clue, or whatever. And basically, every time I played it, which is once.
No, you played it twice.
I played the Kill once, and I played Save once.
Yeah, but that was the worst game of Save Dr. Lucky I've ever played in my life.
I'll say it. What happened was everyone except for Tom hated it so much that when it was a chance,
not that bad of a
when
game.
it was a chance to save him, Tom says, "All right, you guys got to try to save him." There's like 4 people after Tom, and we all passed, and Dr. Lucky died in the game end.
No, he was saved.
Oh, he was saved, and the game was over. Right? We were all murderers.
I don't think it's a great game, but I don't think it's as bad as you think.
I just read when I was making my list. I looked on Board Game Geek, and you said in your comments that if someone just picked this game up and reproduced it with better bits, I think it'd be a much better game. No, it wouldn't.
I think it would, though. But we'll see.
No way.
My number 1 game is Phase 10. I despise it always. It's kind of like, let's say I put my hand on the table and Joe decided to slowly, methodically chop off slivers of my finger, one part at a time. That would be close to the pain I go through when I play Phase 10, especially when I'm in Phase 1 and one of my opponents is in Phase 6. How is that fun? It's just draw your cards, try to get good matches. Draw your cards, try to get good matches.
No, it's
try not to shoot yourself in the head.
Now, see, I have to disagree with you. I don't like Phase 10, but I don't hate it. My wife and I played this game all the time in college because it was the only game we had. And
well, that's not a good.
It's rummy. It's just rummy. It's different variations of rummy. And so if you can get your hand and get out quickly, you can catch up to your opponent. It sounds like to me like you just were horrible at the game, and your wife or whoever you played it always beat you, and so.
Well, a real quick disclaimer here before we exit our show, and I don't. If this is the first time you've ever listened to me and Joe, do not think that we are negative people. We do like most. Actually, at least I like most games. And these games, even if I hate them and you like them, I'm not putting you down.
More power to you. You can like Monopoly all you want. I'm not going to cut you down. I'm just saying, whatever.
I mean, if I think the game is a piece of pile of
rotten potato peel, then
potato peels, you may think it's the greatest game ever. Then great, go ahead. If you like Flux, go play it. If you like Crocodile Pool Party, I can't imagine why. But hey. I mean, at least you're playing a board game.
See, I'm usually a very politically incorrect kind of person, but when it goes to board gaming, I'm so politically correct. You can have your game, and I can have my game, and we can just all get along.
Oh, my goodness. We've gone nuts. But either way, we really want to thank you for listening to our 20th episode. We hope to have 20 more.
At least.
So it is kind of exciting.
Don't forget to enter our contest for Fire in the Sky. Show your support for Multiman Publishing. Stop by Consim and thank them for the contest, or drop them an email.
And so don't forget to email us and everything. And this is Tom Vassell.
And I'm his good-looking assistant, Joe Stedman. Actually, he's my assistant, I guess.
Anyway, thanks for listening.
Well, like I said, that was a fun episode for us to do. I had a lot of fun doing it. In fact, in one point in the episode, I talked about that Star Wars trade I made that I really got, I just really made a foolish trade, and that was with Sam Healy, actually my new co-host, and so at this point in time. We were referring to Sam. He was living in the area with us, but we didn't mention him very often, although that will change in not too many episodes in the future here on the show. But again, this was a lot of fun. The inserts and clips helped. We again talked about how the fact that it was a live show, but this was this point where I started thinking maybe I should go back and edit. Maybe I should go out and take out some of the pauses. And we'll see. Things are going to change here from 20 on up. And again, this is one of the most lists with feedback that we have ever gotten. You know, how could you not like this game? How could you not like this game? And again, we always get more feedback on things that we don't like. And again, I keep saying again, and this is the first time I've said it in the show. Well, whatever. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this show. I hope you come back and listen to our regular show, which will be coming out in about a week. And until then, you can check out more information about us at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Tom Vassell.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed this show, we ask you to check out the website, www.thedicetower.com, for more information about us and about the games we love. We'd like to thank Your Move Games for their sponsorship. Check out www.yourmovegames.com to find out why Battleground Fantasy Warfare made Tom's top 10 games of all time, or join in the discussion on their forums. Until next week, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been listening to The Dice Tower.